Okay, so I'm going to keep this one short and concise because, again, same as last week's video, it's a wrap up of what I have been discussing on social media. And the topic I've been discussing this week has been co-parenting around COVID vaccines for children. And it's not a new topic, it's a topic I've covered previously, and it's something that is coming up all the time in family law matters at the moment. So it's pretty simple, and that's why I can keep it pretty short. I've previously referred to a 2021 case of Covington and Covington, or Covington and Covington, however it's pronounced. But basically the matter was centred around, amongst other legal issues, whether or not the court had the power to make an order that a child have a child vaccine. And it wasn't COVID, it wasn't the COVID vaccine at this point in time, it was just another regular childhood vaccine. The outcome was that the court did have the power to do that, and it was ultimately based on the same thing that any other parenting issue is based on, and that's whether or not it's in the best interests of the child that something go ahead. So obviously there's legal issues as to powers of courts, but the fact that the court was willing and able to make an order that facilitated the child being able to get their vaccines is a precedent that can be used now when families are facing this situation in the context of COVID vaccinations. The reason that's relevant is because whenever we give legal advice around family law and parenting matters, we always come back to the same two primary things is a terrible word, but we look at the legislation, we look at the case law. And we're always going to focus on the absolute worst case scenario that you end up in court. What would happen if you ended up in court? Because the idea is that we tell you what would happen if you ended up in court, and you go, that's cool, I don't want to go to court, so now I know what the outcome could be. How do I work through and get a reasonable resolution with the other parent based on the knowledge that if I don't reach a resolution with that parent, that's probably what's going to end up being the resolution, whatever that may be. And it may not be what you want. I'm not saying whether you want the vaccination for your child or you don't. And there's reasons why children can't have the vaccinations, and there's reasons why people may not want their children to have vaccinations. And that's none of that is coming into this discussion at all, because I don't want to get in the middle of that. All I'm explaining is that if you and your co-parent at present are talking to one another or somehow communicating with one another around whether or not your children should receive the COVID vaccination, one thing you need to be aware of is that if you cannot agree, and in the worst case scenario you had to take it to court, the potential is that the court could make an order that the child have the vaccine. But it will come back to the same considerations the court would make for any other issue around your children, and that's whether or not it's in their best interest. And that's not going to be because you or the co-parent do or don't want the vaccine. It's going to come down to specialist, professional, educated, informed medical advice from doctors and scientists and people who know whether or not it's in the best interest of your child to have that vaccination. When we're looking at medical things, do the pros outweigh the cons? And the court is going to seek the professional and expert advice of the people who know best. And the best way you can stop yourself ending up in that position is by doing the same thing. Go and speak to the people who are professionals and experts in whether or not your child should be having a vaccination, whether it's for COVID or anything else. Speak to those people. If you can get your co-parent to go and speak with those people at the same time together and get the same advice and be on the same page, then you can reach a resolution and agreement. It's going to be a lot easier, because if you don't do it there, you're going to end up having to do it in court. It's just going to cost you lots of time and money. So don't do that. But in this case, it's going to come down to what the court would look at as evidence. I'm doing a lot of this today, sorry. But what the court would look at as evidence, and that's going to be those expert medical or scientific opinions around what is best for your child. And that's going to be different from one child to another as well. So there's no blanket rule. At this point in time, it's not mandated. at this point in time. So just be aware that that's where it would end up. If you had to push it that far, the court could make that decision for you. So if you can try and make the decision together and retain some power and save lots of money and lots of time and do the right thing for your children and be the person who made that decision to do the right thing for your children rather than some stranger sitting behind a really big table. If I could do that, I would do that. I would not go to court. So yeah, that's my very short video for today. I will stop talking. Have a fantastic weekend and I'll see you with the next topic.